In this video, I know that you've probably watched millions of other videos and read tons of other articles on what happened with FTX. So I want to focus specifically on a short summary of what happened, how we can prevent this from happening in the future, and what you can do to move forward. First off, what happened with FTX? In as few sentences as possible, here's what happened with FTX. FTX US and FTX Com are both crypto exchanges, and for this video, we should think of them as one company, even though they technically weren't, because they essentially were. When one went bankrupt, the other one did as well. Alameda Research is another company, which was not a crypto exchange, but instead a trading firm that supposedly made money by making profitable trades. Both of these companies were owned by a man named Sam Bankman-Fried. So FTX, the crypto exchange, it should have operated like this. You give them money, and they give you crypto. Let's call this a crypto ATM. However, this is how it really operated, mainly at the fault of the people using FTX. When you give FTX money, they can give you crypto, but you can also keep your crypto with FTX. Let's call this a crypto bank. The problem lies here. Crypto exchanges are supposed to be an ATM, not a bank. This is where the problem started. FTX started having problems when they realized there were billions of dollars, which were technically their users' funds, sitting around in accounts and just gaining cobwebs. Well, they said, what if we just took a few billion of this and traded it so we can make a profit? And they almost did that, except they didn't make a profit. They lost it. So they took your money and then lost it. So what's the moral of this story? If you treated FTX as a bank, you lost your money. If you treated FTX as an ATM, you still have your crypto. Fortunately, I didn't lose any money in the FTX fiasco because I always transferred my crypto to my very own cold wallet. This brings me to my next question. How could we have stopped this? Now, there are probably billions of ways that we could have stopped this. But by we, I'm referring to you and me, not some big name regulator out there, not the SEC, not even the US government as a whole. How could you and I, just two people, how could we have stopped this? This is called personal responsibility. Well, we could have taken out our crypto. If we had our crypto staked with FTX, you could have withdrawn it and then staked it yourself. If you had crypto held in an account with FTX, you could have just removed your crypto and put it into another wallet that only you own. If this were the case, FTX would have never have had the chance to think, hey, we should trade with our users' money, because they wouldn't technically have any users' money. Unfortunately, a lot of people used FTX like a bank and left their crypto on the exchange. The fall of FTX is not due to the fault of blockchain technology. In fact, the blockchain worked exactly like it should have. The core benefit that blockchains and cryptocurrency technology was created in the first place was to actually avoid situations like this, where a centralized entity has control over our money. We don't want the US government to have complete control over the US dollar. So, cryptocurrencies were created. A currency that only you can own by providing specific information to confirm transactions. FTX happened because people didn't use crypto like it was created to be used. Since crypto is very new and quite unregulated, there are no protections to consumers in this way. This could have been prevented a lot of ways, but the only way that you and I could have prevented this from happening was simply by removing our crypto from our FTX account as soon as we could. In fact, if you have crypto on any other exchange right now, this is your warning. I highly encourage you to remove it from that exchange and store it for yourself, using something called self-custody as soon as possible. As a matter of fact, I'll even say this. If you're leaving money on an exchange, you're not only letting them hold the crypto for you, you're outright telling that exchange to use your money. If you don't want that to be the case, if you don't want them to use your money, you need to take it out of their account and store it in a self-custody account. So this brings up the big question. What is self-custody? I do want to share a little bit about what it means to move your crypto from a place like FTX or Coinbase or even Binance to your very own personal wallet. The term is self-custody. See, cryptocurrencies have a unique property in that the power of that currency is held by whoever holds the certain information of that currency. Now, when I say certain information, I'm actually referring to literally a string of ones and zeros. A bunch of these tied together is called a private key. Now, in theory, anyone could guess your private key, but because it's so difficult to guess your exact private key, we say that it's nearly impossible to guess it. In fact, there's computers out there just trying to randomly guess private keys, and they haven't done so yet. It's theorized that the sun would have to burn out multiple times before a bunch of computers guess one private key, let alone a bunch of private keys. So whoever has this private key, which is really just a bunch of ones and zeros, they have the permission to move the funds associated with that private key. In the case of FTX, they had your private key, meaning they could move your money around, which they did. In the case of something like a MetaMask wallet, if you create a new wallet, the only person who has that private key is you. The important thing here is to never share your private key. It's also worth noting that if you ever lose your private key, there's absolutely no way to get those funds back. Let's go through a quick tutorial of creating a new wallet with MetaMask. Now, before we jump into creating a MetaMask wallet and an account, I want to share this picture that I just created to help illustrate the idea of seed phrases, private keys, public keys, and addresses. If you want to see more images like this, I actually share them pretty regularly with our email list. You can go to whiteboardcrypto.com, put in your name, email, and then you'll join the email list and you'll get updated whenever I create new stuff like this. Anyways, you can see with this image, one single seed phrase is generated, and from that seed phrase, it creates a private key number 1, and then a private key number 2, and then a private key number 3, and in theory, a seed phrase can generate an unlimited number of private keys. So you could have 5,000 different wallets with one seed phrase. We can also see here the private key then is associated with a public key. Now the public key is basically the address, it's just a lot longer. The address is actually just a shortened version of the public key. So the address is what you want to share with other people whenever you want to receive funds. The private key is what you want to share when you're importing one address into another account. For example, maybe you have MetaMask on your phone, or maybe you want to move your account from one computer to another computer. That's when you move a private key. Now, if you want to move all of your addresses associated with this seed phrase, you can then just assume that you can move the seed phrase. However, in any circumstance, you should never share your private key or your seed phrase. One more thing before we hop into creating a wallet, sometimes this seed phrase, private key, public key, and address format will work on many different chains. You can see here the same private key produces the same public key, which produces the same address on all of these networks. Technically, these are all EVM chains, or Ethereum virtual machine chains. And you can see we've got Ethereum, Avalanche, Phantom, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon. If you have an address on one chain, you also technically have that same address, which correlates to the same private key, on another chain, at least in the space of EVM chains. Other chains like Solana, Cardano, and Bitcoin are not EVM chains. I just wanted to make a note of that. Let's go ahead and go to MetaMask.io. Now, when you go to MetaMask.io, you should definitely be doing this on your home network. Do not do this at an airport or like at a local McDonald's, because these websites can be faked on public networks. So definitely do this at a network that you trust. So let's go ahead. I'm using Chrome right now, so I'm going to go ahead and click download for Chrome. It's going to take me to this Chrome extension, and you can see there's 10 million users and over 2,800 reviews. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add to Chrome, and it's going to add the extension to my Chrome web browser. Now, once that is finished, this page will pop up automatically. And the first thing it's going to have us do is learn some stuff about how MetaMask works. I'm going to go ahead and go through this because you can look through this on your own, but basically it's telling you some stuff that I've already told you. We're going to go ahead and click I agree, and then what we're going to do is actually create a new seed phrase. So, if you already have a seed phrase from another wallet that you want to move to this computer, you can instead click No and import your wallet of something that you've already created. In this case, I'm going to show you how to make a new wallet. So we're going to click on Create a Wallet. Now the first thing we need is a password. And the password has nothing to do with what's actually on the chain. It has more to do with your specific computer. So this can be anything. I'm going to use a really simple password and then click Create. Next, you can watch this MetaMask tutorial if you haven't already. We can click Next, and that'll take us to our seed phrase recovery page. So if we click here, you can see all of my private words. These are 12 words, and these 12 words are actually my seed phrase. So for this tutorial, I'm sharing these with you so that you can actually see what they look like. In a lot of other tutorials, they'll blur them out so you can't steal their seed phrase. You should know, this seed phrase in particular, I am not actually using for my own wallet. And also, you should not use this seed phrase because it's going to be public in this video. So I'm going to go ahead and write these down on a piece of paper, and then I'm going to go ahead and click the Next button. So now it wants to make sure that we have the right seed phrase. So now we just have to click them in the order that I wrote them down in. Again, this is checking because if we have just one word wrong, we will actually not be able to produce the right public key if we lose account to this MetaMask wallet. For example, if the computer gets damaged or if the computer gets a virus. If we wrote down one word wrong, we'll lose all of those funds. So MetaMask helps with this by just making sure that you've written down the right words by making you type them in. So other than when you initially set up a new seed phrase, you should never type these words in anywhere on the internet or on your computer. You should write them down somewhere and keep them very safe. I'm going to go ahead and click confirm, and it's going to tell us that, hey, we set up a new wallet. We'll click all done, and here is the wallet. So this is actually the wallet page through a Chrome extension. The way that a lot of people access MetaMask is by clicking on this little puzzle piece here, and then you select this little pin icon, and now MetaMask actually shows up on your browser. So we can click on the MetaMask icon here, and this is now MetaMask. You can see our account 1 is right here. If we click on this, we actually copy it to the clipboard. And the reason they do that is so that you don't try to type it out yourself. Because when you try to type it out, there's a big difference between a capital I and a 1. But sometimes humans have trouble differentiating the two, so it's easier to copy and paste. So if I go ahead and click this, it'll copy it to my clipboard, and now I can paste it here, and you can actually see what my wallet address is. Now this starts with a 0x, which indicates that whatever comes after it is hexadecimal. So this right here is my public address. So this is something that I can share with other people. And again, how you get to that, you click on MetaMask, and where it says account 1, you simply just click it, and now it's copied to your clipboard so you can paste it wherever you want. And again, this is the public address. This is not the public key. It's not the private key, and it's also not the seed phrase. What we just copied was the address, and this is what we share with other people whenever we want to receive funds. Next, I'm going to show you how to see your private key in MetaMask. Again, this private key is something you should never share with someone else. What we're going to do is click these three dots here, go to Account Details, and right here where it says Export Private Key, we can click on that, and if we type in our password, which we set up whenever we installed MetaMask, we can then see the actual private key. So this is what a private key looks like. It does look a little different than a public key and an address, but if I were to copy and paste this, I could then move this specific account to another device without importing all these other accounts. As a summary, if you want to move only one account, you use the private key, because if you use this private key, the only thing you're moving is this address. However, if you want to move all these accounts, you move the seed phrase. If you move the seed phrase, you are actually moving the recipe for the computer to create this private key number 1, private key number 2, private key number 3, which then also create address 1, address 2, address 3. So that's how you install MetaMask. There are many other self-custody wallets out there like Ledger and Trezor. Some people use Trust Wallet, but many people use MetaMask due to its ease of use and friendly user interface. Before we end this video, I actually wanted to show you how to actually transfer your coins and tokens from a centralized exchange like Coinbase to a self-custodial wallet like MetaMask. I'm just going to walk you through me actually moving money. So the first thing we're going to do is go to Send and Receive here. And we're actually going to be sending money from Coinbase to our MetaMask account. So we want Send selected. Next, I am going to be sending Ethereum. I'm actually only going to send $50. So I'm going to select my MetaMask icon here. And the first thing we're going to do is actually click on this right here. This is the account that I want to send this money to. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. Now it is copied. We'll make note of some of these letters, 612 and 99CB. We will simply paste it in here. 612, you can see that, and 99CB. If I was sending more than $1,000, I may want to look at a few of the other characters, but we don't have to. In this case, before I click continue, I'm going to double check what I'm sending. I'm sending $50 of ETH, and I'm sending it to this address, which I've already checked to be my own address. Now, we actually do not need a note. As you can see, it is 100% optional. I'm going to go ahead and click the continue button, and it's going to tell me what the network fee is and around how long it's going to take for this transaction to happen. Again, I still see 6199CB, so I'm going to go ahead and click send now. Now it's going to ask me for an authenticator key from my app, and this is to make sure that nobody else is actually sending my ETH. Once we have that typed in, the process of actually sending the ETH from Coinbase to my MetaMask account, or rather my account that I use with MetaMask, it's initiated. So now I just have to sit around and wait for this blockchain to actually process this transaction. In most cases, this will be finished within 10 minutes. And another thing is, if I actually go in here into Ethereum and I click on Wallet, you can actually see a pending transaction. If I click on this, it does say that it is pending. And if I keep refreshing this, eventually it'll go through. If I want to see on the blockchain when it is actually received, I can actually click on MetaMask, click on these three dots right here, and then click View Account on Etherscan. This will take me to my wallet page using a blockchain explorer, and you can see all my recent transactions here. My most recent transaction is actually 60 days ago from Blockfolio, which was technically FTX, which goes to show you that I really was withdrawing ETH as soon as I was depositing it to my account. I'm going to wait around for a little bit, refresh this page, and show you what a confirmed transaction looks like. So I've been refreshing this page for a little bit, and I haven't seen the transaction come through, so I have a hint that they sent it with a smart contract. So if we go ahead and go from transaction, and we click on internal transaction, you can actually see here, Coinbase 1 minute ago sent me 0.03772 Ether. And so technically this ETH has already been received into my account. If I come back to my wallet page on Coinbase and I'm on Ethereum in my wallet, you can see here that this transaction has successfully went through. It is completed. So that's how you transfer your funds from a place like Coinbase to a wallet that you actually own, like MetaMask. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you have any questions about setting up a crypto wallet, feel free to go to whiteboardcrypto.com, enter your name, email, and then click enroll, and you will join our email list. There will be an automated email that is sent to you automatically, and if you reply to that email, I'll be able to get it and respond to you. Now, the YouTube comments are getting a little sketchy. There's a lot of scammers down there, so I just want to let you know, if you see me in the comments, it's probably not me. It's probably a scammer. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you learned something, and most of all, I hope to see you in our next video.